Welcome to Narrative Nook Audio Tales, where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
In Snow and Rain's eyes, Nicole did not only steal their diamonds. She stole our boyfriends. Before she appeared in our lives, we were the only girls allowed to be around Harvey and Gary. Although they had never confessed their feelings, they believed the boys would accept them as partners someday. Now everything's ruined. They looked at Nicole as if they wanted to bite her head off, but there was no trace of emotions on her face. At the same time, Nicole was getting impatient with Snow's endless provocation. "What is it that you want?" she said in a neutral tone, which made everyone settle down. A few of her brothers heard what Snow and Rain had said. Samuel was furious when he watched the two paint his sister as a thief. He stood up, pointed at Snow, and said, "How dare you call my sister a thief? Do you have any proof?" "Yeah, where's the proof?" "You won't get away with framing our sister if there's no proof," added Spencer. Stanley, Steve, and Sean stood behind Nicole while they stared at Snow and Rain with judgmental eyes. They were much older than the two, so they decided it was best to stay silent. Preston frowned, his eyes filled with distrust. "There's no way Nicole would steal from you. Nicole is not a thief. She's a god in the hacker world. She could buy all the diamonds in the world if she wanted." Although Snow and Rain were slightly intimidated, they quickly regained their composure. They were not going to back down. It was Nick. Before Snow could finish, the door behind her swung open to reveal the gorgeous Chloe. Behind her was Everett, who, in contrast with Chloe, was ordinary and inconspicuous. Chloe's eyes swept over toward the two sisters with a hint of arrogance. "What is everyone talking about? Seems like a fun conversation." When Miley saw her precious daughter's return, she could not contain her smile. She immediately offered the seat beside her. "Chloe, come sit." Chloe did not look at her mother. Instead, her gaze stopped at Nicole. "So you're Nicole?" she asked, pretending that they had never met. At that moment, Mr. Riddle Sr. came down the stairs. Damien's expression relaxed when he noticed Chloe's return. "At least this girl has a sense of propriety." When Mr. Riddle Sr. heard Chloe's words, he turned to Nicole and said, "Nicole, you haven't met Chloe before, right? She's my daughter, a pretty famous actress." There was a sense of satisfaction in his voice. Chloe was also a Royal Creek student. Since there was lesser schoolwork as a 12th grader, she started her career in the film industry. Chloe had been an exceptional child at an early age. She had gained glory for the Riddle family, and the Rogers family highly favored her. She was a junior who walked with the Rogers family. We heard that Chloe had gotten a part in Nichelle Holder's drama show. She had also said she had the opportunity to be endorsed by the J.J. Johnston Group. Her future is bright and limitless. Due to this, Mr. Riddle Sr. was quite condoning toward her. Miley and Damien's faces lit up with pride when they heard his introduction of Chloe. On the other hand, Everett's eyes darkened as he clenched his fists. Nicole's facial expression did not change. She looked at Chloe with a half smile and said, "There's no need for introductions. We've already met. Last I heard, you weren't supposed to come back, no?" Chloe should have been locked up for at least 3 months in Nottingbrook State. But now she was back. Nicole looked over towards Snow and Rain, who seemed to be relying on Chloe. At that moment, she knew that the they Snow was referring to the other day was Rain and Chloe. Nicole was not surprised at the possibility of them teaming up against her. Chloe's face turned pale when she heard Nicole's words. She worried that Nicole would tell the world about her jail time, so she acted as if she did not know her. But Nicole was willing to reveal her secrets. "What kind of power does she hold for the Nottingbrook State Police Force to reinvestigate and arrest me? Is she really someone with no prominent background? She even knows Jared." Chloe stared at Nicole in jealousy when she thought of the time Jared and her left together. She wanted to make her look bad. However, everyone was looking at her suspiciously because of what Nicole said. "I was fortunate to meet Nicole while filming in Nottingbrook State. Maybe she thought my trip was not over yet, so she's wondering how I'm back," she said with a reluctant smile. She then covered her mouth and gave out a small laugh. "Nichelle Holder has high standards for the show. We only went to Nottingbrook State to shoot a scene. Everyone has been back in Hustruberg since last week. While everyone nodded to the statement, Nicole gazed at Chloe with a calm look. Her lips curled, but she was too lazy to expose her lies. Chloe, didn't Nichelle Holder announce that you were out from the cast of Lukewarm? Everett said in surprise. What? Everyone was shocked. Despite being stunned by the bombshell, Miley managed her emotions and turned to her son with a cold face. Stop with the nonsense, Everett. Your sister clearly has a good relationship with Nichelle Holder. She even gave your father and me tickets to her family banquet. How could her kick her out of the cast? Everett blinked his eyes innocently. There was a sense of panic in his voice after being reprimanded by his mother. Oh, I must have misunderstood Nichelle Holder's statement, he said. Damien and Miley's expressions softened. Everyone else looked at Damien's family thoughtfully. They did not expect them to be invited to Nichelle Holder's family banquet because the Holder family was one of the noble families in San Giotto. Similar to the Johnston family, the Holder family was the oldest member of the high society in Hustruberg. Mr. Riddle Sr. ignored whether Chloe was kicked out of the cast or not. Instead, he squinted his eyes at his eldest son, who did not stop his wife from saying what seemed like an explanation but was an attempt at showing off. Everyone shut up and eat, he said coldly. All of them quieted down in an instant. Snow and Rain returned to their seats unwillingly when they met their grandfather's gaze. The atmosphere became strange. There was only the sound of tableware and dishes colliding because everyone was in their own thoughts as they ate. Chloe then sent a message to Snow and Rain. Has she handed over that diamond? No, not only did she not admit she took it, she even brought her brothers to intimidate us. Even Preston's on her side, Snow replied. What do you think we should do, Chloe? Rain asked. Chloe looked up from her phone and glanced at Nicole with an unpredictable cold gaze. Don't listen to their nonsense. Maybe her brothers are her accomplices. Since Preston doesn't care about you two shouldn't care about him either. Just act like he's no longer your brother. After sending that message, Chloe glanced suspiciously at Everett, who was eating his meal. What did he mean just now? Why did he want to embarrass me? If we didn't get the invitation to Nichelle Holder's family banquet, I would have to face everyone's judgment. At that moment, Everett seemed to have noticed Chloe's gaze. He looked up and shot a shy smile at her. What's wrong, Chloe? She looked at his innocent smile and thought, maybe he just blurted out what he knew. She knew that her brother was a little dense, so she let go of her suspicions. He is not a threat. Nothing. Just eat your meal, she said in disdain. Everett did not notice her harsh tone. He nodded and asked considerately, aren't you gonna eat, Chloe? She continued to send messages to Snow and Rain. Do you think I'm you? I can't just eat the whole day away. I want to be an A-list celebrity. I have to watch my diet, she said in a holier-than-thou tone. Chloe and Everett did not seem like siblings since they were young. Chloe was bright and gorgeous. She had good grades and was strong in every aspect. She was always known to be the star of the show. On the other hand, whenever anyone talked about Everett, it was not just Everett, it was Chloe's younger brother. He was used to his sister speaking rudely to him. So he continued eating with no change in his facial expression. However, from the way he ate his food, it was clear that he was mad. Chloe did not care about her younger brother. She looked around the table and noticed that almost everyone had finished eating. Thus, she did not wait any longer. She stood up, turned around, and walked toward the door. Mom, Dad, Grandpa, I'm going to go home and get some beauty sleep. I have to get up early tomorrow. Nobody stopped her from leaving. When she was about to leave the house, she saw an unexpected figure at the door. Mr. Anderson? Why are you here? The chubby man who got out of the sports car was the notorious rogue director of Royal Creek Institute, Eric Anderson. What is he doing here? Chloe immediately put on a fake smile after she thought about how wealthy the Anderson family was. What brings you to my humble abode, Mr. Anderson? She asked. Eric looked at the beauty in front of him and stretched out his hand lecherously, wanting to touch Chloe's hand. He then used his other hand to wipe off the sticky sweat dripping from his forehead. I came to look for someone in the Riddle family, he said. Oh? He's looking for someone. Chloe tucked her hands away and looked at Eric with anticipation. "Who are you looking for, Mr. Anderson?" Eric did not get mad when he did not get to touch her hand. Instead, he wiggled his body around and asked rather mysteriously, "Is there someone named Nicole in your family?" When she looked at his piggish figure, Chloe's smile faded for a moment. She did not answer him directly but asked, "May I know why you're looking for Nicole?" Eric did not shy away from her. He rubbed his hands while looking at the gorgeous face in front of him and said, "I'm looking for her because I want her to meet the people there," he said with his stubby finger pointed upward. Chloe did not understand what he meant, but as soon as she thought about his family's wealth, she wanted to help him. "We do have a Nicole here. She has good looks, by the way. I can bring you to meet her." She was jealous at the thought of Nicole having good looks, but she quickly concealed her true feelings. "But I'm not sure if she'll do what you want." Eric's eyes lit up when he heard that there was someone named Nicole in the Riddle family. "That's okay. Just let me see her." Chloe turned her back and smiled. Her face was full of ridicule. "Come on then," she said. "I didn't think Nicole's good looks could capture the hearts of those with power." Eric kept asking Chloe questions as she walked before him. He did not see the twisted look on her attractive face. "You will know when you see her," she replied uncharacteristically. That's true, Eric thought. He ignored Chloe's attitude and followed her around happily. "I just need to bring Nicole to Mr. Wyant's. Beautiful women have short tempers. As long as she brings me to Nicole, I don't care." He then wiped the sweat off his face and hurriedly followed Chloe into the hall of the Riddle family home. The people in the hall were surprised when they saw Chloe and Eric walking in together. "Who is this, Chloe?" Mr. Riddle Sr. asked. Chloe looked back at Eric with a smile and said, "This is our school's director, Mr. Anderson. He's here to meet Nicole." "He's looking for Nicole?" Mr. Riddle Sr. glanced at Eric and immediately disliked him. However, he exchanged a few words with him out of courtesy. "Have you had dinner, Mr. Anderson?" Eric had no time to waste on small talk. "I'm looking for Nicole, a student from our school. There's something I need to discuss with her," he said while looking across the room, trying to find his target. He then saw the stunning girl not far from Mr. Riddle Sr. The cold light in her eyes was shining like stars in the sky. She was as beautiful as a blazing sunset. Wow, Eric could not believe his eyes. He had seen countless beauties in his lifetime, but this was the first time he had seen such indescribable beauty. When compared to Nicole, Chloe's beauty was nothing. Nicole glanced at the strange man looking at her with greed and lust. "What's the matter?" No wonder Mr. Wyants asked for her name. "Her looks are making me flutter. He really has a good eye for these things. But I can't possibly take her away from him. Even if I really wanted her, I would need to wait till he's no longer interested." It would not be ideal for someone from the Anderson family to be against a dignitary in San Joto, Eric thought. He looked at Nicole as if he was looking at a piece of delicious meat and said, "Do you want to come with me and meet Mr. Wyants? Everything will change if I could win him over with Nicole." Everyone was stunned when they heard what he said. Did I hear him right? Fatty wants to take Nicole to meet Mr. Wyants, they thought. Dylan was the first to start yelling, "What are you going on about? Who is Nicole to meet Mr. Wyants? We've been so busy vying with McCarthy Corporation for that piece of land that even I've had a hard time meeting with Mr. Wyants. Nicole is a nobody. Why does she get to meet Mr. Wyants?" Dylan thought to himself. Damien also frowned. He looked at Eric doubtfully and said, "Mr. Anderson, you must be joking? Nicole is nothing more than a student to you. Who is she to meet Mr. Wyants?" Mr. Riddle Sr. did not question him like the rest. Instead, he asked politely, "Mr. Anderson, are you confident regarding this matter?" The Riddle family was currently looking for an opportunity to get to know Sebastian Wyants. However, they had not found the chance to do so. Now that the tender proposal was due to commence, Mr. Riddle Sr. was starting to feel anxious. Mr. Riddle Sr. knew that Eric was not the most reliable person. Regardless, his appearance gave him some hope. Damien looked at Eric nervously. He, too, was hoping that he was being serious. After all, Nicole was still a part of the Riddle family. As long as Eric had decided on the matter, Nicole would have to meet Sebastian even if she was reluctant. Eric stared at Benjamin and said with an air of dignity, "I have my ways. Nicole's math Olympiad competition is tomorrow, and the awards ceremony is on the day after tomorrow. Since Mr. Wyance and I will be attending the awards ceremony, I'll find a way to bring her to him even if she doesn't win a position in the competition. If she is the person Mr. Wyance is looking for, I'll benefit from this, and if she isn't, at least he'll know who I am." Eric plotted away in his head. Everyone believed him after hearing his seemingly confident statement. All of a sudden, everyone turned to look at Nicole. Damien had a stern look while Dylan was looking at her threateningly. Dexter had an unusually firm look in his eyes. Even Mr. Riddle Sr. was looking at her pleadingly. Meanwhile, Sean frowned. Grandpa has been in the management and executive board for too long. He must have forgotten about the way we handle things here. Why is Eric trying so hard to take Nicole to his meeting with Mr. Wyance? He'll definitely reap plenty of benefits from doing so, but what exactly does he want Nicole to do? Sean wondered. Sean's gaze toward Eric grew cold at the thought of this. "Why are you taking Nicole with you?" Eric was looking at the dim-witted Riddle family with a smile. He was dumbfounded when he heard the question. He turned to look at the cold young man. The young man had features that resembled Nicole's. They must be closely related, Eric thought. He laughed and said, "That's because Nicole is an outstanding alumna. I plan on taking her to meet with Mr. Wyance because she'll reflect the competence of Royal Creek Institute students." Sean was not fooled by his words. He continued looking at Eric coldly and said in a chilly tone, "Nicole is outstanding? But she hasn't even sat for a single test? Why did you choose her of all people? If he wanted outstanding students, wouldn't Rain and Snow, the longtime top students, be the ones he seeks?" Sean wondered. Mr. Riddle Sr. quickly realized what Sean meant. Daniel's gaze toward Eric turned unfriendly as if he had also realized something. They instinctively thought that Eric wanted Nicole to do something wicked. They were unaware that Eric wanted to use Nicole to curry favor from Sebastian. Both Snow and Rain looked at Nicole with intense jealousy. Meeting Mr. Wyance is an honorable matter, yet Uncle Daniel and his entire family are acting so reluctant. They really don't know what's good for them, they thought. Just as the two were about to say something, Chloe sneered. "Why are you asking such questions, Sean? You're not willing to accept a good opportunity now that you're faced with it." Chloe knew what was happening. She had entered society earlier than Snow and Rain, so she was used to seeing situations like this. To Chloe, it seemed like Eric found Nicole pretty and wanted to use her to be acquainted with Sebastian Wyance. Chloe was happy. How could I not support such a good opportunity? If Nicole actually ends up with Mr. Wyance, she won't have the cheek to go close to Jared. Since Nicole enjoys being under the limelight, I'll help her get under the limelight. Chloe thought with a look of glee. Snow and Rain did not understand why Chloe was helping Nicole with such a good opportunity. Rain was even rooting for Sean just now. Nicole is no outstanding alumna. Snow and I are the prettiest and the top student of our years. We are the ones who have the right to meet Mr. Wyance. Rain thought. She glared at Chloe. Chloe shot her a side eye that told her to shut up. Snow discreetly tugged on Rain's hand with a look of resentment. What's wrong with Chloe? Why is she siding with Nicole? Everyone wondered. Everyone turned to Nicole. They wanted to hear Nicole's answer. Many had pressing looks that wanted her to agree to the proposal. On the other hand, some had looks filled with jealousy. Eric had a lecherous smile on his face. He was feeling confident. Nicole can't possibly reject me, he thought. He asked again for mere formality, "Nicole, we need to come to a conclusion. Are you willing to go meet Mr. Wyance with me?" Damien and Dylan looked like they wanted to grip Nicole's head and nod her head for her. Dexter also had a look of anticipation. Dylan watched as Nicole remained silent. He yelled impatiently, "Nicole, hurry up and say yes." Meanwhile, Daniel and Mr. Riddle Sr. had solemn expressions. They knew that this opportunity would benefit the Riddle family. However, they did not know if this opportunity would be disadvantageous to Nicole. Mr. Riddle Sr. was instantly annoyed upon hearing Dylan's words. He knocked on his cane and said coldly, "Be quiet. How Nicole decides is entirely up to her." Sean was also looking at Nicole. The decision is in her own hands, but I have no idea what she thinks, he thought. Nicole stared at Eric. He looked so confident that she would go with him. His arrogant expression made him look extra unsightly. She was not fazed by everyone's gazes. She set down her cutlery and said, "I won't go." What? She won't go? Nicole actually said that she wouldn't be going. They thought. Everyone present looked at Nicole with astonishment. Damien and Dylan were furious. Then, Dylan slammed the table and stood up. He pointed at Nicole and started screaming, "You think too highly of yourself. Whether you're going or not is not up for you to decide. Today, I'll be the decision maker. You'll be meeting with Mr. Wyance." Damien was also looking at Nicole. He did not refute his brother. They all knew that Sebastian Wyance could reverse the Riddle family's situation with a single comment. The McCarthy family had been working with the officials in their province recently. When this was coupled with the arrogant and disdainful attitude they were giving the Riddle family, Damien and Dylan were almost certain that Mr. Wyance favored the McCarthy family. Of course they felt worried. Eric was about to say something out of anger. However, he kept quiet when he saw Damien and Dylan's expressions. He calmly wiped away the sweat on his forehead and waited for Mr. Riddle's to pressure Nicole. Damien also said, "Nicole, you are a part of the Riddle family. Why aren't you willing to contribute to the family? What's more, meeting Mr. Wyance is such a simple thing. Isn't letting the Riddle family reach greater heights beneficial for all of us?" The implication of Damien's words was similar to Dylan's. Nicole had to go even if she was reluctant. Once they get their hands on that piece of land, countless development projects could be done. Damien had thought out various plans to reap benefits from it. Just as he thought that this was about to turn into a missed opportunity, the opportunity presented itself. How could Nicole refuse an opportunity that is knocking at the door? Damien thought. Nicole lazily cast her gaze at them. She said softly, "I'll be returning to campus if there's nothing else. One more thing, if I recall correctly, Grandpa gave Sean complete authority over the tender proposal. All of you are so keen on me meeting with Sebastian Wyance because..." Then, she looked at Damien and Dylan with a sarcastic and chilly gaze. "What's the matter? Are the two of you trying to take credit?" Damien and Dylan looked uncomfortable after they heard Nicole's words. They did intend to take credit. Sean was very secretive about the proposal. While Damien managed to get news about his progress, Dylan had no clue at all. How could the two of them not feel worried when the opportunity was in someone else's hands? Sean isn't willing to let Nicole meet with Mr. Wyance. However, Mr. Anderson looks like he's confident about the matter. If we manage to force Nicole to go, and her appearance changes Mr. Wyance's mind, wouldn't that make the two of us great contributors? The two schemed in their heads. Mr. Riddle Sr.'s eyes glinted angrily upon hearing Nicole's words. Back when Mr. Wyance still favored our family, Dylan kept crediting Snow. Right now, Mr. Wyance clearly favors the McCarthy family more. Dylan must be messing with me. Mr. Riddle Sr. thought to himself. At the thought of this, his expression instantly turned purple with rage. Daniel noticed the change in his father's expression. He quickly asked, "Dad, are you all right?" Mr. Riddle Sr. shook his head. He looked at Daniel's worried eyes and slowly sighed. "Since Nicole has made her decision, none of you are allowed to make any remarks." Mr. Riddle Sr.'s voice was not loud but was authoritative. His eyes scanned the crowd in front of him before landing on Nicole. He then gazed at her beautiful features and said in a comforting tone, "Nicole, do as you please. You don't have to feel restricted." Daniel added, "Damien, Dylan, stop interfering with Nikki's judgment." He believed that Nicole had her own reasons as to why she was not going. At the end of the day, Daniel did not want his daughter to conform to this so-called Mr. Anderson and meet Mr. Wyance. Who knew what wicked thoughts Mr. Anderson had? Nicole's gaze gradually grew warmer as she looked at the two of them. She nodded at them before turning around to leave. Preston quickly prepared to stand up. However, Stanley had already walked to Nicole's side. "Let's go, Nicole. I'll drive you back." Nicole nodded in agreement. Samuel and Spencer followed them out of the door. None of them spared Eric a single glance. Eric was stunned. He did not expect Nicole to be such a tough nut to crack. The entire Riddle family were tough nuts. He watched Nicole and her brothers walk toward the door. Eric yelled anxiously, "Aren't you going to reconsider, Nicole? Do you know what it means for the Riddle family if you get to meet and speak with Mr. Wyance? I know you all have spent a fortune on that piece of land. It's clear what will happen if your family loses the bid," Eric said in an almost threatening tone. "If you continue acting this way, Mr. Wyance will surely hear about this during our meeting." Damien and Dylan panicked upon hearing his words. Dexter also quickly averted his gaze to Eric. He sounded confident. It was as though Eric was genuinely acquainted with Sebastian Wyance. He even knew how much the Riddle family had spent for the bid. They had never heard of the Anderson family. However, San Giotto had been through a lot in the past few years. It was not surprising to see families with new money. Damien and Dylan glared at Nicole furiously. Meanwhile, Mr. Riddle Sr.'s typically calm expression looked a little worried. None of them knew about Eric Anderson's true identity. If he really smeared the Riddle family's name in front of Sebastian Wyance, it would no doubt add fuel to the fire. Nicole calmly walked out of the Riddle family manor amid everyone's panic. Her voice echoed clearly within the house. "You're not my only option if I want to meet Sebastian Wyance." Everyone was stunned by her words. No one went up to stop Nicole from leaving. She walked out of the house and prepared to leave with her brothers. Eric was the first to regain his composure. He looked at the Riddle family with a doubtful gaze. What does she mean? Did I really underestimate the Riddle family? He could not help but wonder. However, Eric quickly changed his mind when he saw the Riddle family's reaction. They all look more stunned than me. It's probably because none of them expected Nicole to say such a shameless thing, he thought. As expected, Dylan roared with laughter. He was about to tear up from laughing too hard. He slapped the table while saying, "Nicole is so full of herself. She must think that she's a big shot, huh? Is Mr. Wyance someone she can meet just because she wants to? I've booked so many appointments to meet him, yet all of them got rejected. Who is Nicole to meet Mr. Wyance? Moreover, how dare she call Mr. Wyance by his name?" he thought. Damien gazed at Daniel's clueless face with suspicion. He thought of Mr. Rogers Sr.'s attitude and Leona Rogers's contempt toward Nicole. There must be something going on between Nicole and Mr. Rogers Sr. She's using him to meet Mr. Wyance, he thought with a disdainful look. Nicole is so stubborn. Is it that hard agreeing to meet Mr. Wyance? Why does she need to do so much for the sake of her ego? Who knows if she and Mr. Rogers Sr. have some kind of unspeakable relationship? He thought again. Damien pushed his gold-framed glasses. He looked at Daniel and smiled sarcastically. Daniel and his daughter are so sly. They are smart enough to get close to the most influential people in a family, he thought to himself once more. Meanwhile, Miley looked unbothered. She remained in her seat and wiped her mouth. However, a hint of disdain flashed across her downcast eyes. It was not that she looked down on Nicole, she merely felt like Nicole was being too boastful. Mr. Wyance was practically the most influential person in San Giotto. He was on the same level as aristocrats. After all, he was the relative of San Giotto's chief executive. This, to a certain extent, gave him the power to wipe out certain families. For instance, if the Riddle family loses the bidding this time around, they would end up with no successors. It would be difficult for them to withdraw resources that they had put forward. Their status would naturally decline along with their shrinking capital. In the end, even their long-standing family name would perish. How could Mr. Wyance, someone who could decide on their family's fate, know a nobody like Nicole? Even Mr. Riddle Sr. shook his head. He looked a little tired, so Daniel helped him to his room to get some rest. Eric trembled in anger when he saw his plan failing. He ignored Chloe's feigned attempt at consoling him. Instead, he dashed out the door with all his might. "Don't be ungrateful when I'm giving you an opportunity. Let's go." Nicole did not budge and looked at him coldly. Not a hint of emotion could be seen on her face. Samuel slapped Eric's hand away before Nicole could do anything. He said to him angrily, "What are you doing? This guy has grubby hands. Touching him makes me feel sick. After this, I'll have to wash my hands repeatedly to feel clean again. I can't believe he actually tried to grab Nicole with his nasty hands just now. Samuel thought while looking at Eric with disgust. Spencer understood how he felt. He walked over and stood beside Samuel, blocking Nicole from Eric. Spencer watched as Eric panted after running a short distance. He sneered at him and said, "Mr. Anderson, you seem like you need some physical training. Otherwise, how will you run up to Mr. Wyance and slander the Riddle family's name?" He also heard Eric's threats just now. However, he did not take him seriously at all.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.